22nd of May, Parliament will use the first sitting to swear in members of the 6th Parliament and to elect its presiding officers. So once the MPs are sworn in, they will elect the President, whose inauguration will be held on Saturday, the 25th of May. We are expecting a number of heads of state and governments to attend the inauguration. Let's find out more about this and other international issues. The SABC's foreign editor, Sophie Mokoena, joins us now live via the telephone. Sophie, thank you very much indeed for your time. Always a pleasure having you on the program. Let's just talk about who will be attending this inauguration. I understand all heads of state and governments from SADC.
Yes, indeed, all heads of state from SADC region, the region where South Africa is located, have been invited, and we expect most of them to attend or to send a high-powered delegation. We also expect leaders of different regions. You know, we have SADC, we have COMESA, we have EAC. Therefore, all the chairs of different regions, for example, EAC will be represented, COMESA will be represented by the person who's chairing that particular region. And then we also expect the chair of the AU Commission to be at the inauguration. And of course, we also expect perhaps those countries, the international countries that are friends with South Africa, like your BRICS countries. It's not clear yet whether they will send the ambassadors who are based in South Africa, or they might send delegations from respective countries. And then, of course, we heard that the United States of America will be sending a delegation, a very low-key delegation, almost like business delegation, because it's being led by the business man Kimberly Reid, president and the chairman of the board of the directors of the Export and Import Bank of the United States of America. And then, of course, the person who's acting ambassador in South Africa will be part of that delegation. And other people, for example, you have Andrew Allman, the Deputy Assistant Director to the President for Economic Policy. So it looks like for Donald Trump, it's all about trade relations, nothing else, not political.
Look, I want to get your take on this. It's very interesting. The Interministerial Committee says they have limited the invitations to the heads of state in line with cost-cutting measures. But this delegation from the United States, with this little-known person called Kimberly Reid, who is both president and the chairman of the board of directors of the Export-Import Bank of the United States. What do you read into that?
No, I think for Donald Trump, his priority is clear in terms of international policy, America first. He doesn't really care about what's happening outside America. It is always about America first. That is why currently there's this trade war between China and the USA, because he's trying to ensure that whatever happens, whatever relations the US has with any country, they stand to benefit. And therefore, for South Africa, looking at this delegation, it's trade, it's economy and nothing else. And I can't see perhaps a person who is of high profile in terms of political matters. Yes, you have one person who is also an advisor in terms of Africa affairs on security. And, security, it's all about Donald Trump's obsession with issues of terror and, So, therefore, it is disappointing. Not even the Secretary of State, it's just people leading different institutions.
Let's turn our attention to Malawi, Sophie. The killing of people living with albinism in that country has become a campaign issue ahead of the national elections in a few days' time. What are some of the issues playing out in that country ahead of the polls?
Well, indeed, it's said that some of politicians in that country can have this myth and belief that for them to make it into parliament or to get elected, they must do some rituals and they must kill people with albinism. That is so wrong. I mean, in this day and age, in our own region, these are some of the things that, for me, SADC has to address, because we cannot have this situation. I mean, killing people for positions, and business, when they're supposed to be talking about the challenges facing Malawi, issue of poverty, unemployment. Malawi is one of the poorest countries in the region. And, they don't talk about poverty. They're talking about how to get into power, and getting into power in a dubious manner. Committing crime. It is very, very, very sad. Yeah, we know that Malawi is going to elections this week, and we know that the former president of Ghana, President Mahama, will be leading the AU delegation, or the observer mission, and you have former South African President Thabo Mbeki leading the Commonwealth mission in that country. We're waiting to see what's going to happen, but President Mutharika is under pressure because he's facing a tough challenge. And this week, when he spoke to the BBC, he indicated that he is expecting a good turnout, and also that he will win elections. But the other issue that came out, that's when he said after this election, he's going to develop Malawi like South Africa is right now, or even perhaps beat us in terms of development. I don't know whether it was a swipe on South Africa. I would recall former President Jacob Zuma saying that, talking about the roads in Malawi, So I don't know whether it was a swipe on South Africa or what.
Interesting developments coming out from there. We will no doubt keep a close eye on that. Another interesting story that came through this weekend was Somaliland, Sophie, celebrating their 28th independence anniversary celebrations. They are reportedly lobbying the neighboring East African states to push for this recognition by the international community. What do you think it'll take to get this recognition?
It's going to be very difficult. You can't continue to have partition of Africa. I don't know the conditions, perhaps, that can lead to this, or AU accepting this, because we are currently trying to push for the unity of the continent and in region, at the regional level as well. Now, if you have this partition that's likely to happen, I don't know whether that will see the light of the day. We are waiting to see. Perhaps at the coming AU meeting, midterm, this matter will be before the AU politics, organ on politics. And clearly they have chosen to lobby countries that are neighbors, and East Africa is one region that can be in a better position to advise the African Union in terms of how to handle this matter.
Yeah.
But like you pointed out, currently they are not recognized by international community. But we were there to tell the story, because we have to tell an African story from the African perspective, what's happening there. For that reason, when you listen to Sarah Kimane's packages, she clearly does emphasize the fact that, yes, fanfare, celebrations, people are happy here, there's relative peace, there's development, but the key issue is whether the international community will recognize Somaliland.
Yeah, that's important indeed. Look, Sophie, before I let you go, I just want to talk a bit about Sudan very quickly. Reportedly, the Transitional Military Council says talks with the Alliance for Freedom and Change will resume today at the Presidential Palace, correct?
Yes, yesterday an announcement was made that the talks will resume, but you must remember that much as the opposition have agreed to some interim measures, but ordinary people in the streets, the professionals, the people who started the protest are saying they want 100% civilian interim government, not military, but the military wants to have a bigger say, and they want to lead this process of transition. That's where you have a problem. That's the sticking point, because the Sudanese have realized that all the time when civilians stand up and fight, you find a situation where the military intervenes. They intervene because perhaps they were part of the establishment and they don't want to let it go. Therefore, they come with an alternative way to continue to wield power. And now Sudanese are saying, not in Sudan. Therefore, that's where the problem is, whether you will be able to ensure that the interim government is 100% civilian rule.
Sophie, she knows international news, as the late Vuyombuli might have said. Sophie Mokoena is SABC's foreign editor. Thank you, as always. Take a quick break. Get you more news next. Stay with us.